The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. This is a Netflix movie from the Coen brothers. This was not on my radar at all. I go check out Netflix last Friday and boom, a new Coen brothers movie straight to Netflix. Craziness. Apparently this did have a small theatrical run, but the Coen brothers wanted to seek alternative financing, do a smaller film, so Netflix was who they ended up going to get this film funded, and it is pretty good. So the Coen brothers, they wrote and directed this. They've done such movies as Fargo, Burn After Reading, Big Lebowski, lots of great films. Their most recent one was called Hail Caesar. That one was not that great, but Ballad of Buster Scruggs is fantastic. So this is a Western film, and it has 6 short anthology type stories, not connected, and 6 short stories in here, and all of them are pretty decent. I didn't really love the last one, but 5 of the 6 I really enjoyed. So the first one is called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and it stars Tim Blake Nelson as this kind of really happy-go-lucky gunslinger, but he has such a positive attitude, but he can just take down anybody in the West. And we have some funny scenes there. This one is very kind of humorous. This guy eventually breaks into song, and it seems to turn into a straight-up musical. And then eventually he gets challenged for a duel in the street. And I don't want to spoil the ending of this one, but it was a fun little story there. Our next story is called Near Algodones, and this one stars James Franco as this bank robber. He's attempting to rob this bank, but the teller fights back. One scene I love is that the teller straps all these pots and pans to him. He's charging at James Franco. James is shooting at him, but he keeps hitting the pots and pans, and eventually he gets knocked out. And then James Franco is put on trial to be hanged. And I don't want to spoil the rest of the story, but it was a pretty interesting conclusion. Not too bad. Our next short story in this film is called Meal Ticket. This one is with Liam Neeson, and he's sort of a traveling performer, and he's bringing this guy with him that has no legs and no arms, and he wheels this guy around the countryside. They go into towns. He sets this guy up in this little stage Liam has, and this guy with no arms and no legs recites this whole story, and that is how they make their living. This one had a pretty dark ending, I must say. The next story is called All Gold Canyon, and it is with Tom Waits as this gold prospector, and he's out by himself in the mountains by this stream, digging holes, trying to find gold in the pan thing. When they shake the pan, they get the little gold pebbles, and he goes to all this work to get this gold, but then eventually this guy comes and attacks him as soon as he's about to strike it rich. Can't spoil the ending of that one either. Pretty good story on that one. The next one is maybe my favorite of the group, and it's called The Gal Who Got Rattled. It's with Zoe Krazan as this girl who's with her brother, who's kind of a loser, and they're on the Oregon Trail, and the brother has promised his sister to this guy in Oregon, his business partner, and they're to get married. But while they're on the trip, the brother dies, and now the girl is by herself, and she has to decide, what is she going to do? Is she going to go to Oregon and get married? Is she going to go back home? Is she going to do something else? She sort of starts falling in love with one of these transport guys that's bringing this whole wagon trail to Oregon, and things get really interesting. It has a very kind of sad ending, though. Our next story is called The Mortal Remains. This is the last story. This one I didn't love so much. This one is a group of travelers, and they're in the back of this stagecoach going from one point to another, and they start talking about their lives. One guy is a trapper, and he talks about living this lonely life, trapping animals, but then he at one point started hooking up with this native person, and they shared a relationship. Then we have this other woman. She's very Christian. She talks about that. Then we have these other people, and they're like bounty hunters. And then there's this sort of very sophisticated guy, and he's like French. And they all talk and converse on their journey, and this one was okay. But overall, I think this film was very fun. The various stories were really good. This is a solid Western film. A lot of the stories have different kind of themes, different kinds of tones. The first one's very musical. The next ones are more dark comedy. One's maybe more action-based. So a very good wide array of stories. And this is definitely worth watching. This is one of the Coen brothers' really good movies. I don't know, it's not their best, but this is a solid movie, and it's straight to Netflix, so this is just right at your home right now. So everybody go check this one out. This one is good. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Highly recommend it.